Peace be with you. I'm making another video in order to try to warn Muslims in regards to danger of addiction. It is one of the worst diseases affecting young people out here in the West, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. What addiction is slavery. You are dependent on something to feel normal, and you crave it every day, and it changes the way you think and changes the way you behave, and you become a much worse of a person than you generally are. It destroys people. That is why God warns us in the Quran about it. In the 5th chapter of Quran, verses 90 through 92, God tells us, O you who believe, intoxicants and gambling, and altars set up, and dividing by arrows, which is essentially raffling, are filth, devil's work, avoid them, that you may be successful. There is no success with addiction, right? You look at places in America like Kensington Avenue or San Francisco or Skid Row in LA, and you see the consequences of addiction. These people are suffering, and the people around them are also suffering. Wherever these people go, they bring suffering to themselves and everyone else. And then God says, avoid them that you may be successful. Surely the devil is trying to introduce hatred and animosity among you by means of intoxicants and gambling, and to keep you away from prayer, and to cause you to forget about God. Will you not then stop? And then God says, and obey God and obey the messenger, but be warned. If you turn back, if you turn away, then our messenger is only to clearly deliver. All of us at some point in our life are told that drugs are bad. We just don't have the idea of the consequences, right? Drugs are bad doesn't convey the danger. Because drugs are slavery. If you have ever been an addict, even if you are an addict in recovery, every so often the devil calls you back and looks for that weakness, and people lie to themselves saying, maybe I can just do it one time, and then they slip back into addiction after 10, 20 years of sobriety. It's never over. That's why you hear the statement, once an addict, always an addict. Even if you're in remission for a prolonged period of time, you are an addict. That devil, you cannot unsee the devil anymore. That is why it is better never to try it if you are a person that has never tried drugs. Especially if you are a Muslim. I mean, if you are a Muslim, and now I just told you what's in the Quran, in the 5th chapter of the Quran, verses 90 through 92, and you don't listen to that, then I don't think you're going to listen to me either. So for you, you're going to need the next advice, and that is, if you have ever been an addict or are an addict, you need to make sure you keep every prayer. If you are a Muslim, you have to pray. That is your salvation. Not only that God tells you have to do that to be a Muslim, but you have to pray. That is your salvation. As long as you keep up all your prayers, you have to be sober for them, which means even when you fail, your failure is not catastrophic, resulting in terrible consequences, of course, unless you overdose and die. But generally, your life will not be a catastrophic car wreck, like, for example, those people who are homeless, and you will still be a relatively well-functioning member of society, contributing to society. So you have to pray. If you are a Muslim, that is your salvation. In the 29th chapter of the Quran, verse 45, we are told, and recite that which has been revealed to you from your Lord, and keep up prayer. Surely prayer keeps away from indecency and evil, and remembrance of God is greatest, and God knows what you do. Prayer keeps away from indecency and evil, and if you are an addict, you cannot be high for prayer. Therefore, it saved your life. This is what God says in the Quran, and these are the dangers of addiction. They are understated, and that is why I try to make these videos, because if you think COVID was bad, COVID killed 10 times more addiction killed 10 times more. No, thousands of times more. COVID killed like 5,000 young people or something like that. People under 25, let's say, and addiction claimed like 70, 80,000 lives. So you do the math. And I make these videos because I have little ones, and I don't want them. Addiction is a communicable disease, and I think every parent should be doing everything in their power to eradicate this danger from their society, because the more you help treat the addicts, or the more you remove them from community, the safer your community is going to be, because drugs are a communicable disease. Right? They are a communicable disease, because you're not just going to become an addict if you are out there in the ether by yourself. You have to have somebody to supply you the substance, and also to encourage you to take it, or at least make you comfortable taking it, which medical community has done the service to people for now a couple of generations, but I won't get into that now. opioid epidemic and now stimulant epidemics are creations of, or at least have a great contribution from the medical community because they took the stigma away from the substances. So that's it. If you are a Muslim, never try drugs, don't even try them when they're given to you by a doctor. They're liars. They started an opioid epidemic and now they're starting a stimulant epidemic. The devil is a liar. It's the same thing. You're not sick. And then keep up prayer. If you've ever tried drugs, that is your only exit. And if you haven't, please understand that slavery is not a place to be at. It's better not to know. Peace be with you.